creepy and cool TikToks that will blow your mind. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go!
Disclaimer: this video is for entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research, as these clips haven't been fact-checked.
Did you see what's going on in Nepal?
But nobody knows what's
Nepal felt threatened because they felt like the youth was going to organize against the government, so they shut down all social media, Instagram, Facebook, all of it. And you know what they did? They burned the governmental house down. They killed the prime minister's wife. They overthrew their government, and they just reinstated a new prime minister. An entire country overthrew an oppressive government. They don't want the people to see that that's possible. And regardless if that's
wow.
Yeah, go look this stuff up. The Nepalese government was completely overthrown by the youth who have elected a new prime minister on Discord.
Misinformation. They didn't kill the wife. She was disabled and the people helped her to a hospital. The PM left her when he fled.
How did the Mexican cartel put you to the test?
I was out partying with some of these people and I get taken back to one of their warehouses and we're going to party more after it. But it wasn't that, it was a setup. There was something happening there that was extremely violent and there was a involved in it, and they wanted to see how I would react. And you could tell because as I'm coming in to seeing this horrific scene, they're all just staring at my face.
And you know that's what this is.
As soon as I saw that we weren't going back there to polish off a few last beers before the night was over, I knew it was a test.
How would you mentally prepare yourself for that?
You got to compartmentalize a lot of things. And in that scenario, the most important thing is not doing what they're hoping that you're going to do. And you really have to just focus as much as possible.
What is he talking about?
Is it possible to get a tattoo like this if you're not a gang member?
No, you gotta kill.
You gotta kill to get those tattoos. How do you feel right now?
Gotta recognize that what happened to us is like that Titanic, that we were big and strong gang, but we got hit with the iceberg.
Are you going to be here the rest of your life?
Yeah, the rest of my life. We murdered a lot of people, and this is the consequence of what we did one day. Like, try to act strong in the day and cry in the nighttime.
You cry at night?
Yeah, because we know that we're not going to get out of here. It's a maximum security prison.
What was the gang that you were a part of?
MS-13.
Yup, you should have listened to your mother. I mean, organs are more nutritious than the meat itself, just not as appealing.
This is proof of the firmament. The sky is water. How much more do you need?
Everything looks clear up ahead. Check the ride, we're bouncing a bit here. Altitude holding steady, Captain.
I want to believe it, but AI is taking offers, so hard to believe anything now. Seeing it with your real eyes is the only answer now.
Did you know that in the Middle Ages, nobles used a hemp rope to clean themselves after using the toilet? That's right. This rope hung from the ceiling of the latrine and they would pass it between their legs to wipe away the filth.
Oh.
The worst part? The same rope was used by several people, and even when it got disgusting, no one replaced it. But it doesn't stop there. In ancient Rome, privacy was zero. Public toilets had no partitions, with everyone sitting side by side. In front of them ran a channel of water to mask the sounds, with a sponge on the tip of a stick floating in it, which worked as toilet paper. And guess what? That sponge was shared. To try to clean it, they poured vinegar and salt water into the channel. If you didn't like the idea, you could use a piece of broken pottery, which could cut the skin, or in ancient Greece, small ceramic shards. In China, they preferred bamboo splinters, which were safer and easier to clean.
Man, the smell is probably crazy. And Europeans claim they were the civilized ones.
Me and President Gorbachev and his wife Reza, and right behind us is a Gulfstream. It's our private plane that we were traveling around the world with. This guy was the former president of the Soviet Union. This is when they had the KGB. So I was talking to President Gorbachev, and he was saying, look, the KGB controls the media in the Soviet Union. He goes, in the same way that the CIA controls all of the American media. And I said, that's very interesting because, as you know, President Gorbachev, the CIA cannot operate in the United States. Its mandate is only to handle things internationally. And after the translator said that, he just started laughing and I started laughing. Because any idiot out there that believes that, you are a moron. Wow. You are living in fantasy land. If you think the CIA only handles stuff overseas, what do you think they want to kill Snowden for? Because he revealed what really goes on. Same thing as why they want to kill Julian Assange. The reason they want to kill him and they want to kill Snowden is because he revealed the truth. And the truth is that the CIA is embedded all throughout the U.S. mainstream media. That is the truth. They use the techniques to manipulate you in every way.
Imagine sitting on a 7-8 hour flight with this brilliant man, the knowledge one could soak up.
You're telling me there are people this black in England? No. The first black man ever to live in London was 1593. His name was Cornelius, and he was probably as black as this guy, and he was a celebrity. England didn't have an empire. That didn't start to the reign of Elizabeth I. They had never been to Africa. They had never discovered the Americas. There were 0 black people. It was an island in Europe, isolated from the rest of the world. There is no way that even if a black man found himself somehow in 1066 in the UK, that Harold Godwinson was conscripting him into the army of Huscarls to face off against the Norman invasion. That did not happen. We've seen the BBC do this with their Pakistani Isaac Newton that looks more like my guy Yusuf here than Isaac Newton actually looked. So this is my message to black and brown actors out there. Stop playing their games.
What's the point of trying to change history with these lies?
Did you know that back in the Middle Ages there was one of the scariest punishments ever? It was called sea repentance. They would lock the convict inside an iron coffin with prayers carved all over it, chain up their hands and feet, and then throw the whole coffin into the ocean. People believed it would cleanse the soul, letting the criminal pay for their sins in death. In 1493, on the coast of Britain and France, a woman named Lisa was accused of witchcraft, but the real reason was that she rejected the bishop's advances. The very next day, the bishop claimed she had slept with the devil, and her execution was set before dawn. The lid of the coffin slowly closed. Monks stood nearby watching in silence. One of them couldn't take it and turned away. Others tried to stop it, but the guards shoved them back. Lisa suddenly lifted her head, tears rolling down her face. She let out a furious growl, but the iron coffin was still dropped into the sea, and the roar of the waves drowned everything out. A few days later, the bishop and several monks who had taken part in the execution mysteriously disappeared. The monastery was shut down, and all records erased, as if that day had never happened. Many years later, during restoration, workers found a sealed old well, and at the bottom lay a rusty iron coffin. The lid was cracked, seawater was slowly seeping out, and on the surface floated a few of the bishop's rings. To this day, nobody knows the truth.
I forgot what movie this was in.
The Middle Ages hid customs so disgusting that today they seem unbelievable. Queen Isabella of Castile, a feared warrior of Europe, had a habit that still shocks. She proudly claimed to have bathed only twice in her entire life, at birth and before her wedding. Weddings in June weren't about romance, but because people usually bathed in May. The stench returned quickly, and that's where the tradition of the bridal bouquet was born. Not for decoration, but to disguise the unbearable odor of the bride and groom.
Ooh.
Rotten teeth were so common that nobles used fans not just as a sign of elegance, but to hide their decaying mouths and foul breath. Oily, lice-infested hair was considered beautiful, and had served as protection against the insects. Even worse, darkened teeth were a sign of wealth, since only nobles had access to sugar to ruin them, and many women avoided washing their intimate areas, believing it would cause infertility, an era where filth and superstition dictated fashion.
How are you gonna live like that?
Skinwalkers, the story of them is actually terrifying. There's this Viking dude, Bothvar Bjarkni. In battles, he would go like catatonic in the camp. Like he would just like almost in a trance. And every time he did that, a bear would appear in the actual battle, killing the enemy. And then when they said they would wake him up, the bear would vanish. He would never fight the actual battles. He would just lay in camp and then like possessed a bear, go into these battles and kill people. Skinwalkers, we've all heard of these. The Selkies from Ireland and Scotland, they called them seal people who shed their skins to become human. If you stole their skin, you controlled them. It's always an animal hide skin that these people put on.
Biblically, demons possess animals. Like they went into pigs. Like what did the pig look like running down the hill? I don't imagine it looked like a happy pig.
Well, it talks about in the book of Enoch too, of like the Watchers, they literally messed with animals and they taught forbidden knowledge basically. So it makes you wonder, is part of that like a witchcrafty kind of thing, like they taught to become an animal, even if it's just a deceptive thing, right? It's like they're not actually the animal, but everyone perceives them as that animal.
Didn't some Vikings use psychedelics as well before battle?
You want to hear something really fascinating?
Sure.
Darwin's theory of evolution breaks down when it comes to humans. We can extract that DNA from the bone marrow of fossilized remains of beings that we used to believe were our ancestors. And we didn't descend from many of the other forms. We showed up about 200,000 years ago. But the kicker is that we can now look at the DNA and reverse engineer it and say, what did it take to get where we are? And what scientists are now calling the smoking gun is human chromosome number 2. Got about 1,200 or so genes in that chromosome, and just one of them, gene TBR number 1, is responsible for most of the brain that we have for our neocortex. So our humanness, our empathy, sympathy, our cognitive abilities. Gets really interesting. So where did chromosome 2 come from? Scientists have the answer, but they don't like the answer because chromosome 2 is the product of a fusion, of telomere to telomere fusion of 2 pre-existing chromosomes. That does not happen in nature. Can't happen in nature.
Wait, you can sell me for how much? 100 million?
Yes.
Because of my kidneys?
Yes.
Organs?
Yes. 5. And your eyes also can sell it.
There's been stories on this. Kidnapped by the government. Kidnapped by organ traffickers. Drive-by shootings. His organ stealing. I'm worth $50 million and I need a kidney. And you know, kidneys are pretty sensitive. You got to find somebody who really got the kidney that matches yours. You think I'm going to wait till somebody die for me to get one? If I don't get one soon, I'm going to die. So guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to pay somebody to go research people. Okay, let's go look at all the black organ donors. Let's look at all the black people who got organ donor on their driver's license, which is why I'm not a friend of that. I say, if you want to donate your organs, put it in your will. Say that if I die, this can go to my family, my relatives, my friends, or whomever. But when you put it on your license, I believe you make yourself a public target. And so what did they find? We got a guy in Los Angeles. He has the same blood type as you, same kidney type as you, likely. He healthy though. He ain't likely to die no time soon. He don't know you, so he ain't going to give you no organ for free. So guess what we're going to do? We're going to arrange a murder that makes it look like he was in a car accident. We're going to arrange a murder that makes it look like he committed suicide. So the next thing you know, you coming out the gas station, boom, you get hit by a Mack truck. You dead, gone. You get taken to the funeral home. Your family come to the funeral. They don't know that before your body got laid to rest, a little hole was poked and they pulled your kidney.
That's crazy.
What are demons? Genesis 6 describes heavenly beings stepping into human life in a way that breaks everything. They cross boundaries, they take human women, and the children from that union are called the Nephilim. When these giants died, their spirits became restless, disconnected from both heaven and earth, rejected from the divine realm because of their origin, and unable to join humanity in death because they were never meant to exist in the first place. The Book of Enoch calls them evil spirits on the earth, wandering, hungry, chaotic. These spirits, the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim, are one of the Bible's clearest origins for what later became the demon category. They crave bodies. This is the backdrop of Jesus casting demons out in the New Testament. These aren't fallen angels. They're the spirits of giants who are born of rebellion. That's why they beg not to be tormented. That's why they beg for bodies to inhabit. Because they don't belong anywhere. They are spiritual orphans.
Wow. It's crazy how empires rise and fall.
I got a hot take on this.
Please.
I don't think they do. So I don't think the Roman Empire fell. I think it became a church. So the Rome fell, but the Roman Empire became the church. Where's all the money from the Roman Empire?
The Vatican.
In the basement of the Vatican is where it is. Yeah. That's the Vatican.
Yeah. Whew.
It's incredible.
Bizarre.
It's incredible. It's a city within a city.
The wealth, the sheer wealth in art is overwhelming.
So Roman Empire became a church. British Empire became a bank.
Ooh.
So we gave our empire back. He said, oh yeah, sorry. Sorry about that. You can have that back. We gave, Saudi Arabia back and all these other places that we'd sort of, we're taking the resources. And then they had their own money. And then we went, oh, well, what are you doing with that money? Because we've got this thing called the City of London. I tell you what, it's your money, but we're going to hold it.
In the Bible, it says Adam was placed in the garden and Eve was made.
So she was cloned.
Yes. Genetic engineering, all this stuff is in the Bible. Adam and Eve essentially were clones. And it was essentially just Adam initially. Adam and animals. We were originally made for workers, the Lulus, because the Anunnaki loved Earth. In a sense, we're rich in resources and gold, but they didn't want to do the mining. So they created the Lulus. Eventually, we had Adam. When I say he had the animals, and there was some bestiality in there. He wasn't satisfied. So they made him a couple different partners, so to speak. The first one was Lilith. Didn't work out, so then they made Eve. That's when Enki came in, Anunnaki again, son of Anu, and had intercourse with Eve. And she got pregnant. And that was the original sin. That was the big no-no, because now you're mixing and meshing the reptilian DNA with these clones.
Rare photos you've never seen before. Landing gear after an emergency landing. UPS in Italy uses bicycle trucks to deliver in Rome's narrow streets. This is why you shouldn't mess with uncontacted Amazon tribes. This French fry is 8 inches long. This mug has 2 holes for eyes that can actually leak your drink out of them. Udon noodles made a pattern on this stainless steel pot after scrubbing it clean. This elk antler arch that gets replaced every 30 to 40 years. This village farm festival lets visitors guess how many apples fill this car and win a giveaway. A steam train. 5,000. After a massive boiler explosion. This plant has started growing under the paint. This clock is reversed, so it appears correct in the mirror while getting ready. This stove's heating element looks purple on camera, but appears red to the naked eye. This shell that looks like an AirPod. Someone heard a bang and found a jet engine stuck in their wall. The way you can see the truck through these pipes. Stanford has a giant statue on campus of a Greco-Roman sandworm. A radial engine on an early motorcycle. This farmer stops traffic taking his 5,000 ducks for a walk to the local pond.
You said that a lot of the main anchors at the big media companies were CIA operatives. Do you think that's happening today?
Yes.
Did you think I was a CIA operative?
No.
What are the signs?
When somebody is asked a difficult question about their government, their agency that they might be working for, they might answer it in a negative way, but then they'll say, yes, but. I think that allegiance mandates some kind of PR maintenance. And it doesn't make me say, oh yeah, 100% that guy is an agent or whatever. But it does make me say, that's interesting. Like that person got asked about something that happened in the 1950s with the CIA. And they say like, yes, they did that back then. However, nowadays, their new focus is this and this and this. They'll throw a little commercial on top of the admission of the negative thing that happened.
PSYOP. How do you know if you're in the middle of a psychological operation?
So matching narrative is number one. Matching narrative means that I'm hearing pretty much the same messaging from media outlets, celebrity influencers, and authority. People that are in a position of social authority, not like cops and lawyers, and judges, but people in social authority, like pop singers. And I won't say any names. The most popular pop singers, all saying the same shit on social media. That should terrify you to the deepest part of your core, that none of this is real, or none of this is what it seems like. If you're seeing people silenced or ostracized for disagreeing with an idea. We saw this during the pandemic. There were Harvard-educated medical doctors that were kicked off of social media, which is our greatest fear, is being ostracized socially. It's greater than death, and you can leverage the shit out of that, especially when you can manufacture an artificial tribe on social media. Just remember in your mind that if an idea requires suppression to exist, it's a horrible idea, and it's most likely a psyop. Good ideas don't need to suppress other people. Good ideas travel on their own. Good ideas spread on their own. It doesn't need suppression.
Israel and Charlie Kirk issues are psyops confirmed.
This is the only dark-skinned ethnic group in China. Long ago, they performed rituals with human heads. And even today, some of those head stakes are kept as cultural relics. They are the Wa people, who value the colors black and red, which are reflected not only in their complexion, but also in their clothing. They are also well known for their loyalty and perseverance. Their history goes back to the Three Kingdoms period, when Zhuge Liang taught them farming methods that greatly improved their lives. To show their gratitude, they promised to guard China's western border, a promise they have kept for more than 1700 years. In 1934, when the British Army invaded Wa territory, 17 tribes came together and wrote to their Chinese brothers and sisters, vowing to give their lives rather than break their word to defend the land.
We have discovered the Latinas of Asia.
What's the craziest study you can tell us?
You have mice, they are exposed to a smell, and at the same time as the smell, they get electric shocks.
Oh my
Later
goodness.
on, you remove the electrical stimulant, and the smell alone produces what? Profound fear. This is called classical conditioning. Here's the interesting part. These mice, their kids, have never been exposed to the electrical shock. Yet when they smell that smell, they will feel profound fear, not knowing why. Simply because in their genetic switch, they learned to fear that particular smell. But not only that, these mice's kids, we're going another generation down, the grandkids of the original mouse now smells this smell, and they will feel what? Fear. Imagine me living in Copenhagen, and I see certain thing, and I feel fear and anxious, for example, not knowing that mom and dad were in war in Iraq, bombs, and I don't know all this, yet I have a genetic makeup making me who I am today.
Is like the best aged actor of all time.
What's the point of being alive if you're going to be bedridden for 30 years? Well, that's what's going to happen to everybody if they don't optimize.
So the post you made with Tom Cruise,
he's in his 60s. He looks the same.
How are we staying hot?
I think I don't sleep. I go unconscious. I love my days start early and they go early.
And his coach, she was hot. And now she looks like shit.
What happens if you wake up too late?
There's going to be damage done. She can actually reverse it just by optimizing hormones.
High dose of, what is it? Adrenochrome?
Can you believe it? Here, for just $2, you can temporarily marry a woman. But trust me, this is definitely not a place you'd want to bring your friends. This is a slum in Laos, with very poor sanitation, no basic public services, and frequent water and power outages. The houses are mostly made of thatch. Most don't even have doors, and they often collapse. People here live on less than $1 a day. The streets are piled high with trash, and flies are everywhere. Some even dump human waste and garbage directly into the river. The water is black and stinky, filled with floating trash. And the fish are all dead. It's a really disgusting sight. Even so, the residents have long gotten used to this dark way of life. Diseases like Ebola, syphilis, and other sexually transmitted infections spread quietly here. People make less than $3 a day, barely enough to survive. As a result, many girls in the slum can only work in the alleys to make a living. When it rains, that's the happiest time for them. Enjoying a brief moment of cool in the heavy rain. Forgetting about life's troubles for a while. Would you want to live here?
Nope. Married temporarily? Red flag.
And we see that laughter just wipe away. And it's not just that. Notice what happens to her hand. Her hand was up here in front of her mouth, goes down over here near the neck and does something we call neck guarding. This is one of the most reliable signals of discomfort. That hand comes to the neck like this, like this, like this. Anything like this, we are protecting a very vulnerable part of the body. Another thing we see in that moment is taffy eyes. So notice how she doesn't turn away from Marcus like this. Her head turns away as her eyes stay on him, and then they turn away as well. This is her holding on to a little bit of hope that, okay, no, I'm not, okay, I'll just, and then she breaks it off. So we're going from that laughter to, Are you going to laugh? No, you're not. Okay. And then, so I won't laugh either. And this is something that I've seen very, very commonly when someone who has main character energy realizes that in this scenario, they're not the main character. So there's some kind of reaction where they're expecting something, they don't see it, and it just wipes off, and they immediately, to adapt, match what everyone else is doing.
Was that when the model fell over? I feel sad for the model having someone laugh at her.
Ever killed a person in real life?
July 3rd, 2009. I was walking my dogs in Venice Beach, and there's like a big house party. And I saw this older couple, and they were playing the didgeridoo. And I saw this one guy outside the party who was kind of like a ringleader. He was dancing around, drinking 40s. The guy went over to the woman who was playing the didgeridoo, and he lifted it up, and he put it on his crotch. So it looked like this old woman was like blowing his crotch. And I remember just like looking at her husband, and he was just like broken. That same guy, he's like, oh my gosh, look at that dog. And he called the dog over, and the guy's like roughing up my dog a little bit, and I called my dog back, and the guy held on to him and didn't let him come back to me. I went over to him and grabbed my dog. I was like, boss, let's go. I started to walk away, and him and a couple of his friends started to follow me, and he pushed me in the back, and I turned around and I hit him with the right hand. He fell down and he cracked his head on the pavement. He wasn't waking up. Police came. I was handcuffed to this bench. People are like pouring beers on my head. Police were just saying like, hey man, if he doesn't wake up, that's that. I just looked up and I was like, if you can just get me out of this, I am done. 1 second later, the guy woke up.
Okay. You could have just said no.
You say Bruno Mars, he like owed a casino 30 million gambling problem.
Oh no, not just gambling.
Oh.
Gambling and that cocaine.
Okay.
Bruno Mars right now, I think somewhere around 55 million and 68 million in debt.
It's bad.
He'll be doing shows in the afterlife. You hear me?
How said when God gives you a gift and you throw it away for some BS?
This is what I say to people that think this is all foolish. Watch the Apollo 11 post-flight press conference. It's three guys that look like they're completely full of shit. They look nervous. The way Neil Armstrong is describing the flight is so fucking bizarre. And then he gives this speech 25 years later at the anniversary of the moon landing. And he says,
there are great ideas undiscovered, breakthroughs available to those who can remove one of truth's protective layers.
Yeah, like, what the does that mean? Why don't you just say, hey, I went to the moon? Yeah. It's also during a time where they were completely about everything. They lied about who killed JFK. Why would they tell the truth and nothing but the truth about this one thing? Not only that, that was their favorite thing to do. Where we are right now,
My goodness. Then they met the Texas Rangers.
This is how the LAPD accidentally discovered a Mexican cartel kill house in the middle of Los Angeles. It started with a bad address on a raid order. The LAPD thought they were hitting a small stash house in East Los Angeles. A routine bust, nothing special. But the moment they broke down the door, everything felt wrong. The air was cold, heavy with chemicals. On the kitchen counter, stacks of cash wrapped in plastic. In the hallway, crates of rifles stamped with Mexican military markings. And in the back room, a freezer. Inside, bags, duct taped tight with blood leaking from the corner. When they opened one, they stopped breathing. The house was rented under a fake name. The neighbors said the guy was quiet, polite, always wore suits. The kind you wouldn't look at twice. But the LAPD realized they had stumbled into something much bigger. A cartel kill house used to store bodies before disposal. Within hours, the FBI showed up and the street was locked down. Officially, it was just another drug seizure. Unofficially, the story never made it to the news.
He knocked up Kourtney Kardashian. And Kourtney's third kid is actually Justin's kid.
No way.
Yeah, there's 3 evidences, right?
Yeah.
One of them is during 2014, Kourtney and Justin were like dealing with each other, right? And during 2014, I don't know if you know, but Scott and Kourtney, who were dating at the time, were like going through like a rough patch and they broke up.
Yeah.
And Scott went to rehab in 2014. So Scott was out of the picture for mad time, but Justin was there. And then Ellen was even hinting, oh, was Justin Bieber part of the process of the baby making?
Justin Bieber help with the kids at all, or? No. Only that's the rumor. I know you're friends. Yes. Why are you smiling that way?
Blushing. She's blushing. And if you look at Justin Bieber as a kid and Rain as a kid, they look exactly the same.
Because that's supposed to be Scott Disick's son.
Yeah, Scott's Disick's son.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look like Scott. And Scott even notices.
Interesting.
Why don't they do a DNA test? Wow. God is how you survive that.
There are case studies and reports of people with dissociative identity disorder, multiple personalities inside of a person, where one of them has a medically diagnosable condition and the other one does not.
Are you me?
No. One of them could be cortically blind, or one could have color blindness. One of them could have some kind of a diabetic condition. There were several conditions where these other personalities would have allergies even. Just upon reading this, I'm thinking, could I make someone with severe depression have an alter ego that doesn't have the depression? And we know that neurons that fire together wire together. So over the course of 6 months, if they keep doing this, can they kind of like rewire their brain if this alter keeps taking over?
Sounds like a demon possession to me. Manifestation comes in many forms.
This is the Pair of Anguish, an infamous medieval device believed by many to have been used for torture. But how did it work? First, the device was tightly closed until it resembled the shape of a pear.
What?
Then it was inserted into the victim's mouth or another bodily opening, preparing for the torment ahead. Inside the pear was a spring mechanism, poised and ready to be released. When activated by the torturer, the spring would begin to slowly open, causing the device to expand while still inside the victim, inflicting significant pain and horrifying injuries.
Proof of Didi time travel.
Killed a guy in a hotel room in Dubai. And then after they killed him, they were somehow able to lock the door from the inside of the hotel room. And we tried like magnets and different ways. We couldn't figure out how they did it.
Like a latched door?
They did the latch and this one. And the guy's in there dead. And the hotel couldn't even get it open. They ended up sending somebody in from the balcony. How do they do that? It's very impressive.
There was like 26 people that the Dubai CCTV footage picked up.
Right.
Weren't the cameras Israeli made?
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised. When I was in Dubai, I got a tour of the whole facility and the cameras were German.
What facility?
There's an underground.
Underground what?
There's an underground facility that the government of Dubai has that completely created by Siemens. It's like walking into an IMAX theater, but instead of one 5-story screen, it's 5 stories of TV monitors, hundreds of TV monitors that cover every inch of Dubai.
Oh my goodness. Wayne King. This is Wayne King? Cavity. Oh, no way.
This dad found his 6-month-old son being eaten alive by rats.
He was being eaten by rats?
Yes. This happened in Indiana in 2023, so this was super recent.
Damn.
Police ended up getting a call one morning super early. The family was saying that their baby needed help, so police go to the house. The first thing they notice is how filthy the front of the house is. It looks disgusting. So they go inside the house. The dad's there and the mom is there as well. And they had, I think, 3 or 2 kids that were like toddlers at the time. The baby in question that was 6-month-old is in this basket or a cradle. They go over to the baby's body inside of the cradle. The cops look at him and immediately they start like kind of freaking out. They're like, are you serious? Like, what am I even looking at? The baby's still alive.
Oh my God.
But the baby has like, bro, over 50 bite marks.
God.
Like huge bite marks from rats. And the rats were eating this baby so much that they basically nibbled all of his fingers off.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
bro.
especially his right hand, all the fingers were gone. They nibbled it down to the bone, they said. So they're still looking around the house and the basket is filled with blood, bro. He's like laying in a pool of his own blood.
Oh my goodness.
The EMTs eventually arrive at the house and they take the baby out of the crib. They put it inside the car. The baby literally needed a blood transfusion and had to get its right hand amputated.
Damn.
Yeah, because of how bad it was already, like its hand was done, bro.
Yeah.
The man, David Schwannebaum, he ended up getting arrested for 16 years for child neglect.
Damn.
And the wife, her name was Angel, she got 9 years for basically being a part of it and not saying anything.
Yeah.
You know, because she was an accomplice.
And
So
he was like the main caretaker for
yes,
the kids, right?
pretty much. Yeah, he was the main caretaker.
Somehow, bro, I don't think 16 years is
Yep.
Me neither.
Nowadays, they both should have gotten 50 years each, separate prisons.
Face tattoos is a great warning of just massive levels of mental instability. I actually think people can look good with tattoos. I'm not really anti-tattoo, but the science is in it. It's like lots of tattoos is almost always high anxiety, which is comorbid with depression. People's actions leave clues to their inner mind. And since I read that science 5 years ago, you find someone with a whole bunch of tattoos, you dig in and their anxiety levels 1 to 100 is almost always 80, 90, or 100.
Interesting.
Yeah, body modification is very correlated with depression too. So it's not just cutting, lots of piercings, lots of things.
Oh man, this is painful to watch. I heard about this. Oh, look at those guys just standing by, not helping at all, not even touching the raw butter. That is such a tragedy. This is a video of my friend's co-op in Michigan getting raided, quote, by the Michigan health authorities, and they had to throw away so much raw butter, raw cheese, and raw milk. Apparently it was $90,000 of raw dairy. It's illegal in most states to sell raw milk, raw butter directly to consumers. Alcohol, cigarettes, these are legal in every single state in the United States, but raw milk is illegal in the majority of states in the US. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Raw milk, raw dairy, these are healthy foods for humans when they're done safely. And there are multiple studies which show that kids who grow up drinking raw milk on or off farms have lower rates of asthma, eczema, and allergies. We should support the Nourish Co-op in Michigan and other co-ops in your area that produce these things. These are good foods for humans, I believe.
So it's illegal to sell healthy food there in the US.
On September the 30th, 1897, St. Tress succumbed to her illness and died at the age of 24. As she passed from this life, she spoke her final words, with her eyes fixed on her crucifix.
I love him. My God, I love you.
The words which she had written about her life at the behest of her sister Pauline were used as the basis of an obituary and sent to every Carmelite monastery in France.
When she died, she was completely unknown. You had 25 people at a funeral. Nobody knew who she was. And the nuns had to publish the obituary. The obituary is published to be sent to all the Carmelite convents in the country. And in 1897, you had 126 Carmelite convents in France. So the nuns had to prepare the obituary. It was Pauline who was in charge of putting the words of Therese together to make the obituary. That chose a title, Story of a Soul. It took 1 year to make the book.
So,
okay.
7-OH, what is it?
7-OH is a synthetic drug derived from the kratom plant.
This is also called gas station heroin.
So gas station heroin is actually a name that was first started with a drug called antidepressant, marketed in the early, I think, 2010s in gas stations as Neptune's Fix. It has sedative qualities, but also some euphoric qualities. And that's really where the term gas station began. So now what's happened is they've moved on to products like 7-OH. Here are other forms of it. And this one's called Opia. It doesn't sound at all like they're trying to conjure the idea that it's related to opium, does it? The guy who sold those to me didn't speak a lick of English, but when he saw me pointing at the gas station section, he just started laying out in front of me all the different options.
It could be up to 46 times stronger than morphine. Very potent.
Ooh, they sell that in the gas station over there?
Have you ever heard the saying, there's no atheist in a foxhole?
I haven't heard that.
When you're about to die, all of a sudden, you'll start believing. And I can attest to that because there are a multitude of experiences that I have where I was 100% certain in my head, this is it.
That's crazy to believe. Like, that's so far from what I believe. I can't imagine being in those positions and not praying.
I mean, I'm just telling you, when you've been in that position enough times and you've seen enough people die and you've had enough friends die and you've seen what Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Taliban was doing to our people. I mean, you see things that nobody else will ever see. They can't even comprehend what you saw. They can't.
So if anything, that made you
things.
question, how could there be a God if this stuff's happening?
Yeah, I mean, you got a guy like Adam Brown, for example. Great dad, great husband, doesn't cheat on his wife. Just a stand-up, phenomenal human being. There's not a lot of guys like that, and it seemed like it was always the guys like Adam that got killed.
Andrew Jackson is an absolute menace. He participated in 103 duels, usually to defend his wife's honor. In a famous duel, Jackson let his opponent shoot first, took a bullet to the chest, and then calmly killed the guy. That bullet stayed lodged in his body through his whole life. But that's not the only bullet that Jackson had. He got shot multiple times through his life and managed to survive, carrying the bullets in his body, earning the nickname Old Hickory. In 1835, Jackson became the first U.S. president to face an assassination attempt when a man tried to shoot him twice, both misfires. Instead of running for protection, he chased his gunman down and beat him up with a cane. Mind you, he was 67 years old. Despite his brutal policies against Native Americans, it's surprising that he actually adopted an Indian boy on the battlefield. He vetoed more bills than all of the previous presidents that came before him combined. He hated paper money despite being on the $20 bill today. Was a self-taught military leader leading the American troops to victory in the War of 1812, and had a pet parrot which he taught to excessively swear.
How do we not have an Andrew Jackson movie?
And at age 43, I had my first experience with psilocybin. The first one was 3, the next one was 5. The next one was 6, and then 7, and then 10, and then 13.
Was it ever scary?
Oh, yeah. In the 10 journey, I went to the funeral of everyone in my family. Not just of those who had already passed, but those who were my own offspring. The 13 journey and the death loop occurred at 13, where you get caught in this repetitive cycle of death and rebirth. That was clear. There is a much greater ultimate reality on the other side of this physical life. The critic may say, well, you had this hallucinogenic drug, you had this mushroom, and it just created these chemical reactions in your mind that made you have this hallucination that was real. To which my answer is, and so what?
Then what? Grams?
It's all happening in Canada now. And it's so obvious. It started during Trump's first administration when he first started cracking down on the southern border. Cartels knew they could go into Canada and they didn't need a visa like they needed to get into the US. They could just go, set up shop, negotiate and network with pre-existing organized crime groups in Canada and say, hey, look, you guys have incredible access. Over 5,000 miles of practically unprotected border into the United States. We can produce this product here and traffic it. And what do we have in Vancouver? The Port of Vancouver. And where are the precursors coming in? From China. Less than 1% of cargo that comes into the Port of Vancouver is actually inspected.
Less than how much?
Less than 1%.
Less than 1%?
That is an official number.
Are you
That's crazy.
saying in addition to Mexico produced, or it's all moved to Canada?
I think the majority is moved to Canada.
Well, would you look at that? What you are seeing here is a quarry in Moldova. And just take a look right past that excavator. Found several meters buried. At the bottom of this quarry, what did they find? Another buried brick archway.
Ooh.
This one reportedly found 15 meters underground. Whether it's right beneath your feet or about 50 feet down, the evidence can be found everywhere. The evidence of the many resets, the many lost civilizations, buried. You just have to look for it. Start by researching the mud flood and fall of Tartaria. Dig up our true past, friends. Question everything. Till next time.
Mon Dieu! Oh! Oh! Qu'est-ce que c'est que cette merde? Oh!
What is that? Morgellons parasites?
Oh là là! Tiens, je vais... Oh! Mon Dieu! Oh! Oh la 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 la!
He's ever seen.
Gross!
The chalkboard I cracked was the blueprint for the ritual. Emails, letters, court files, they all prove it. Jess Staley says, "Say hi to Snow White." Epstein replies, "What character do you want next?" Staley says, "Beauty and the Beast." That's deception hiding truth. Mimicry masking power. It's code. Symbolic language, just like secret societies use. This was trafficking disguised as fantasy. Epstein calls Trump the dog that hasn't barked. That's ritual silence. The mirror spell. Appearing clean while hiding power. He protects the spell. He plays his part. Epstein tells his PR girl, plant a story to discredit Virginia Roberts. That's plants, mask, truth. Turn the victim into the liar. It's classic inversion. Then Woody Allen writes him a letter. "Your party reminds me of Castle Dracula. 3 vampire girls serving the room." He's not joking. That's ritual theater. And on the island, Epstein built a temple. He filled it with offerings, filmed everything. He picked guests like a high priest. 13.5 was on the chalkboard. It proves the circle is real. It's timing, execution, symbolic death. It was a ritual of humiliation, domination, and silence. The victims weren't just abused. They were sacrificed spiritually, offered, displayed, forgotten. And the world was invited to ignore it. That's how they flex their power. That's how the circle operates. In shadows, with symbols and total control. If Trump was really outside the system, Hillary would have been arrested. And remember, they dragged him into court. Remember? He took the mugshots. He went to court all those times. And for what? Nothing. Because it was all theater. It's all theatrics. So put that in your brain so you understand. They're all compromised. These emails show you how they think. They're proof that they think in rituals, symbols, and control. They drug you, they f you, and they kill you. So stop blaming just one puppet. We don't need more sides. We need a revolution. And now Trump is calling on the DOJ to investigate Epstein's ties to Bill Clinton and others. This is all theatrics. Nobody's gonna get arrested. Nobody. Just look at the Haiti scandal. The Clintons got caught funneling kids through fake adoption rings. And the lawyer they sent to help the trafficker was a convicted pedophile. So what makes you think the Clintons are ever gonna get arrested? No justice. It's not left versus right. It's us, the people, versus the ritual freaks who hate us.
Who were the bad guys again? Oh, wow.
After France's liberation in World War II, these women had their heads shaved and clothes torn. Swastikas were drawn on their foreheads with lipstick or ink. What were they accused of? Official documents described it as improper relations with enemy forces during the occupation. Some women had simply served meals or done chores for German soldiers. Others worked as translators for the occupying army. In some cases, accusations stemmed from neighborhood dispute. After the war, France needed symbolic culprit. Men who had been unable to resist the Germans now emerged, directing their anger toward women. A nationwide ritual of public shaming began. Barbers took razors and shaved their heads in front of crowds. Onlookers gathered, some spitting on them, others throwing stones or tearing their clothes. In Lyon, a teacher named Suzanne was stripped and paraded through the streets after teaching French to German soldiers. In Bordeaux, 12 12 women accused of dancing with Germans had their hair burned and the ashes rubbed on their faces. French archives record over 20,000 women subjected to these humiliations. This was not justice but revenge. Historians later called it frantic purification, not a legal process, but emotional outbursts without trials or evidence. Those who stayed silent during the war now sought to become heroes afterward. These women became convenient symbols, a way to wash away shame.
History of the most beautiful slave in New Orleans history. In the autumn of 1837, the St. Louis Hotel in New Orleans was packed with the city's wealthiest men. The auction that evening had drawn an unusual level of interest, even for a city known as the largest slave market in the United States. This is Black AF History, the unwhitewashed story of America. It not only talks about slavery, but about how our people are the foundation and backbone of this country, and we need the recognition we deserve. I'll link it below. Grab it while it's on Black Friday sale. Now, what made this particular sale different was not the number of human beings on the block, but rather the presence of a single woman who would soon become known throughout the city as the Pearl, a name that would echo through the cobblestone streets of the French Quarter for decades to come. She stood 5 feet and 4 inches tall, with skin described in the auction papers as the color of fresh cream with the slightest hint of coffee. Her eyes were a deep amber that seemed to change hue depending on the light, and her hair fell in long, glossy black waves down her back. The auctioneer, a man named Thomas Williams, introduced her simply as lot number 17. But those in attendance knew they were witnessing something extraordinary, as whispers moved through the crowd like ripples on the Mississippi. Now, biracial slaves, mulatto slaves, and slaves with 1/4 black ancestry were considered to be somewhat of a delicacy. Now, I hate using that word, but that's just how I would describe it for what, people used to do to us back in the day. And because of the fact that she was light-skinned and that she had a lot of passing features, she was considered to be one of the most beautiful slaves in New Orleans at the time, at least by the white people in white society, but she was still treated as a slave and sold at the slave market as a slave was. Now, a lot of mulattoes were like 2 or 3 times the price of a dark-skinned slave.
You can see the all 3 races in her, and she is stunning.
In the 1930s, they were giving x-rays on every pregnant woman to measure her pelvis. And then in the 1940s, they discovered that caused the baby to have cancer. So they had to stop it. And then in the 1950s and 60s, they had another drug called thalidomide, which caused babies to be born without arms and legs. And then they had to stop that. But you see, in every case, it was after the fact. In the 1990s, they were giving Cytotec to induce labor in women who had had a previous cesarean. And they ended up with hundreds and hundreds of ruptured uteruses and many, many, many dead babies before they found out finally in 1999 that they shouldn't do that. But you see, there's not a good history in obstetric practice of careful study of the long-term effects of all these interventions. This is why, if you really want a humanized birth, the best thing to do is to get the hell out of the hospital.
Who are the manufacturers of those drugs?
This is how much. For example, we have program. High prescription cancer. Deep core.
Yeah. Did you know that in 1938, after the Nazis took over Austria, they arrested Louis de Rothschild, one of the richest bankers in Europe? He wasn't charged with a crime. The Nazis wanted his family's fortune. Louis was held for months while they demanded a huge ransom. In the end, his family handed over businesses, property, and about $21 million, which would be worth around $450 million today. After receiving the money, the Nazis finally released him.
Illuminati, bloodline families, Rothschilds, Rockefellers, they traumatize children through sodomy ritual, which hooks up to the chakra system, to the crown chakra, and then it kind of blocks it at the top so that that person can't go beyond what is created in here. So they have altars. So when you hear actors say it's like another person took over, they've been groomed to do that. And so that's terrifying. That's a satanic ritual that they do. To me, it's no different than any other religion. Catholicism, you have men in robes, clinging incense, midnight mass, the chantings that they do, the rosaries over and over and over. They're opening up portals by doing that. I believe behind it is a darker knowledge of what they're teaching their young priests to do.
Damn, they arrested Bonnie Blue in Bali, and her bright idea was to come to Bali to film a bus-style video with barely legal men. But the problem is filming adult content in Indonesia is illegal, and that's why her studio was raided where Bonnie and 17 other men were arrested. She now faces jail or deportation, but did she have it coming?
Don't come to Bali and do that stuff here.
Population is basically all women. All the men born on this island eventually leave and find
Oh, by the way, this is Indonesia too.
jobs as shipmen, leaving women to run society.
Somewhere in Indonesia.
I originally heard of this island because of a TikTok that claimed if you're a man that comes here, you're basically guaranteed to find a wife, maybe even two.
On a quiet island in Indonesia, girls stand at their doors every single day, waiting, not for money, not for fame, but for a man. And these women, they're ready. They don't play hard to get. They're not picky. They're just tired of waiting.
After seeing this video, I was not buying it. Sure, maybe this island does have a lot of women, but I was highly doubting that they would just throw themselves at you.
Ah, I'm a hot commodity. For once in my life, I feel wanted.
So I had to go investigate for myself.
I'm about to board this cruise ship going to a place called Woman Island. And the reason it's called Woman Island is, well, there's a lot of women there. All the men, they leave to find work opportunities elsewhere. So the island is about 80% women. In fact, there's many men actually returning to visit.
Lesbians paradise.
I was robbed on the street in Chicago in front of my son by black women. This girl was
What?
this is another side of for humanity. And this is only hope for my son. He doesn't know what to because
He escaped communist North Korea and now has to deal with the communist Democrats.
Beating your wife was too noisy, so in 1895 in England it became illegal to beat your wife from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. Any other time it is permitted to beat your wife.
You dare to talk back? Just wait till 7:01.
And you're not thinking right now. You're following orders. You're not thinking for yourself. You're not in touch with your soul. Because if you were, you would take that off and you would breathe freely, which is the #1 form of nutrition. And if you don't have proper oxygen, you can't have cognitive function. And if you can't think right, you're easily pushed around and controlled and manipulated.